extra foot or two, and it comes at a great price.
So there is Mark Cuban, a shark investor from ABC Shark Tank and the owner of the NBA champion of a couple of years ago, Dallas Mavericks. He will have the green flag in his hand a moment from now. He's taking in all the radio instructions he's being given. You want to get it right. And what's the one instruction you give the guy waving the flag? Don't prop it.
He looks very focused. He probably looks more focused than the drivers do right now.
Well, you know, when you talk about drivers, always remember this because you're here all month. It's dark and gray. Today, warmth, color, movement, fans. And boy, we better get our foot on the gas down to turn 1.
3 abreast coming to the start. Field tense.
Everybody's extremely tense. Everybody knows that they have to get through it without having a problem, but inevitably somebody will see an opportunity and start racing way too early. But having these 3 cars abreast is not easy.
Everyone wants to win. Only one will. Coming down for the start of the 98th Indianapolis 500-mile race. Trouble toward the back. Looked like James Davison had to make an avoiding move in that aquamarine car. And also Ryan Briscoe perhaps showing some smoke from behind that red, white, and blue 8 machine.
Oh, I think that smoke was from the rubbing wheels. Anytime you do that in open wheel cars, usually something worse happens. A lot of luck for those guys today.
James Hinchcliffe leads lap 1.
Not a good start for Ed Carpenter. He got gobbled up on the outside from Hinchcliffe and then had to play defense.
You know, it's funny, we always talk about getting through turn 1 like we just did a minute ago, Eddie. You know, because you've been on the front row, I've been on the front row. My goal was to lead to the first turn, the first lap. We say conserve, wait for 500 miles to win this race, but there's a lot of pride at stake.
I think Ed is lining Hinchcliffe up, and he'll get him at the end of the straightaway, turning into turn 1. And this will be, other than the start, the first real pass of the day.
He's looking, will he get the draft and make that dive on the inside going through? We'll wait and see. Not enough.
So Hinchcliffe, Carpenter, Power, Castroneves up to 4th, just passing Marco Andretti on that second lap of the race.
So at this point of the race, nobody really has a rhythm yet. They're still trying to find out what sort of a car they have.
Saw the smoke off the second turn. Ryan Briscoe, pole winner of a couple of years ago, is on the pit lane.
Your left rear is down, you're going to lock up the right front. Left rear was good, guys.
So Briscoe goes a lap down early in the race. Wow.
Briscoe very lucky, off of the wall.
They were both very lucky.
There he is. He's in dirty air. He's up a little too high. They call that in the gray area. He's going to run out of track right now. He does. A little touch to Villeneuve's car, and he has to respawn, go over to the left. And Davidson gets through. Look how sideways he is, and the lockup from Davidson's brakes right now. So not something you expect on lap 1.
That smoke we saw was both cars braking, not both cars rubbing of their tires, which was a much better alternative.
But we stay under green, and Briscoe back in the race, though 1 lap down in 33rd position. This race a year ago had 68 lead changes. Weather conditions today a good bit warmer than they were for this race a year ago. When I talked to drivers and team managers in the paddock earlier this week, they weren't sure we were going to see that same kind of race because they thought the handling in the warmer weather might get a little edgier.
The drivers don't mind driving when it's hot. They don't like having tested when it's cold and then racing in the heat because they're not quite sure how their cars will react.
You can see from the Honda telemetry right now, we're getting about 224, 25 miles an hour straight line speed. We were seeing up towards 229, 230. Everybody's trying to get into a pace right now. Watch the throttle. In time, the guys has to take their foot off the throttle. Means the car's not working as well as they'd like it to. Now watch the speed here. It's a little faster down at turn 3 today because of the wind. Down one shift. You heard him go down from probably 5th to 6th gear. So for Helio Castroneves, very smartly going into lines, finished just sitting in 4th and conserving fuel.
So the lead group, Hinchcliffe, Carpenter, Power, Castroneves, Marco Andretti, Scott Dixon running in 9th position. The winner from 2008, and on a lot of folks' minds, including yours and mine, Eddie, as a likely contender for the win today.
Scott is a method driver with an enormous amount of talent. From the first lap in the race, he has a strategy that he's worked out with his engineers, and I have to assume at this point he's trying to go as fast as he can, feel his car, but he has this magic ability to save fuel. Every little bit of fuel that you save allows you to gain positions on track because you won't be spending that much time in the pits, and he does it so purposefully and with such a professional attitude that he doesn't get caught up in the moment.
Early check-in on Kurt Busch in his bid in his first Indianapolis 500. He took the green flag in 12th position. Kurt running in 15th now. This not the car that he intended to run in the race. He had that wicked crash here in practice earlier on Monday. The team deciding to take Marco Andretti's backup car, swap the coloring, and put Kurt Busch in that machine for this race. He was able to get a little bit of practice here on Carb Day Friday.
And Alan, it's not very often you get away with the type of crash that he had and walk away from it with some type of injury, so he was very lucky. But he did say that he just let his guard down just for a minute, and he found himself going into the wall.
If they were to name a Mr. Congeniality in racing, it'd be the guy who's leading. The bright personality of James Hinchcliffe also is pretty darn fast behind the wheel at the Brickyard. The second lead change of the Indianapolis 500 after James Hinchcliffe got the lead from Ed Carpenter on the start. Carpenter has gone back around Hinchcliffe and is out in front. The pole winner last year did not get the finish he was hoping for. Carpenter hoping to win from pole position this season. He leads after 13 laps. On the move in the early going, the series champion for the Verizon IndyCar Series a couple of years ago, Florida's Ryan Hunter-Reay.
Last year he was leading on that last restart and he got shuffled back to third place. I'm sure he's one of those many drivers that spent the whole winter running through that restart in his head. Perfect pass. And every time he ran it through his head, he came out with a different finish. But you can hear, Scott, that the drivers are not that much on a limit right now as they take their throttle off every time they go into the corner. That's not just because of traffic, but they're trying to gauge how their car is working. Doc?
Ryan Hunter-Reay said he has got to get out of where he started in a hurry. Starting back in 19th position, he told his crew, I've got to get up in the top 10. I know what happens back here, and I don't want to be a part of it. Now, his teammates are trying to save fuel. Hunter-Reay said, I'm not worried about saving gas until I get in the top 3. Then I'll save fuel.
That saving gas thing, it sounds weird for folks who may watch the Indianapolis 500 and don't watch auto racing regularly, but saving fuel is a critical part of how you operate at top speed. For more on the driver who might be trying to save a little fuel by giving up the lead, here's Jamie.
And that would be James Hinchcliffe, and that was exactly by design, Alan. He said, I don't want to be out here leading, and he stayed up there for 9 laps, so he tucked in behind Ed Carpenter. Now remember, James Hinchcliffe has had a heck of a month, Alan. He suffered a concussion just 2 weeks ago in the GP race here at Indy. He wasn't cleared to drive for 5 days, and that set the team back, but he managed to go out, qualified on the front row, and told me, I don't know what we have for today. Well, so far, so good, Alan.
These race cars with open tops, Hinchcliffe taking a piece of debris off the head at 170 miles an hour. And after having to sit out a few days, was medically cleared to drive, qualified on the front row, as Jamie said, and he's running second right now. Update on Kurt Busch from the pit lane. Vince?
Kurt Busch started 12th. He's lost 4 positions to 16th, but don't worry. They wanted him to just settle in and get comfortable. It's a long race, 500 miles. They weren't looking to grab spots early on. Get comfortable, get used to the speed, get used to the traffic. And his team told me before he got in the car today, they've been so impressed with him to this point. He's been like a sponge, soaking up all the information every bit he can. Even attending meetings he wasn't required to attend. They believe they're going to have a good day with Kurt Busch in the car today. We're just 17 laps in, but hardly any communication from him on the radio, and that's normally a good sign, Alan.
So Kurt Busch holding steady while Juan Pablo Montoya has given up a couple of positions in the opening few laps of the race. The 2000 winner of the 500 back in IndyCar racing, started 10th. He's running back in 12th now. In fact, just picked up one of the positions he lost and gained it back. So now Montoya running in the 11th position, Rick.
Well, Montoya got on the radio just a few minutes ago and told the crew the car is understeering just a bit. But even going into this race, he said, to be honest with you, the first half of this race really is just about learning, relearning this IndyCar experience so he can set himself up for those last 30 laps.
And that understeer that they're talking about, Alan, is that from the front maybe doesn't turn as well as he wants it to. Now, the driver in today's cars does have some cockpit aids that he can actually make some adjustments in the car. There's a weight jacker, there's a button on the steering wheel. He can change the weight from one side of the car to the other side in the front, make it turn a little bit better. And also the roll bars, those things that we have on our road cars that are just underneath there that we don't really know about. Well, drivers can change those as they're out there on the racetrack, changing the handling of the car.
Driver on the move in the early going, J.R. Hildebrand, the California native, now living in Colorado. Started the race in 9th position, and Doc, he's moved up to 5th.
Indeed, he is on the move, Alan. And back on carb day when the track temperature was 109 degrees, he came in and did something very daring. They changed the rear shocks or dampers. They made a major rear wing adjustment. They have put all their money in hoping that this track would be 110 degrees or hotter on race day. Well, I have just checked with the Firestone engineers, and they say the track right now is 112 degrees on the front straight, but 117 and a half in the corners. Maybe that's why Hildebrand is on the move.
At this point of the race, the drivers now know what sort of a car they have under them. hopefully they're in a range where they can make small improvements and make the car faster as the day goes on. But as Doc said, the racetrack is going to get hotter and hotter, and you have to be able to get there with a setup that works. You have to be able to manipulate a lot of different things.
Well, the teams will get their first chance to lay their hands on the car since the green flag waved when the first round of pit stops begins shortly. We've just completed 50 miles at the Indianapolis 500.